The Cheers to That podcast, proudly brought to you by drinklab.org.
All right, so today we are diving deep into the Negroni.
Really fascinating how much there is to unpack with the Negroni.
It's like there's more to this drink than just gin, Campari, and vermouth, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's deceptively simple.
Right.
This drink, it's got a surprisingly, rich history
Okay.
and a really passionate following.
Interesting.
And it even sparks some pretty lively debates amongst cocktail enthusiasts.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like a drink with opinions, I'm in.
Oh, yeah, you're going to love this deep dive.
But like for those of us who might only know the Negroni as, that reddish drink with an orange slice in it,
Right.
Let's start with the blueprint.
Of course. So at its core, the Negroni is equal parts gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth.
Okay.
It's really as simple as that.
Oh.
And I think that's part of what makes it so special, this simple structure, this perfect balance. It's allowed it to stand the test of time. It's been around since the early 1900s, evolved, inspired countless variations.
Wow.
I mean, there's even a whole Negroni week dedicated to celebrating this iconic cocktail.
A whole week. Now that's dedication.
It's true.
So we've established this drink has some serious fans.
For sure.
Spill it. What's the story behind this legendary cocktail? Like, how did we go from this, simple recipe to a global phenomenon?
Well, like any good cocktail origin story, you've got the popular tale and then you've got the truth.
Okay.
Which is often a bit muddled.
So you're saying kind of like a poorly made Negroni. I like it. I appreciate a good metaphor.
Well, thank you.
Okay, but don't leave me hanging. Tell me more about this popular tale.
Okay, so the most common story takes us back to 1919 Florence, Italy.
Okay.
Picture Count Camillo Negroni.
A count. This is already good.
Right.
I'm picturing it.
So he's at his regular haunt, this cafe called Cafe Casoni,
Okay.
and he's feeling a little adventurous, decides he's going to shake things up a bit.
I like his style already.
So he's bored with his usual Americano.
And that's Campari, sweet vermouth, and soda water, right?
That is correct.
Okay, just making sure everyone's following along.
So he wants something with a bit more kick to it.
Okay.
And the bartender, inspired by the Count's boldness, decides to swap the soda water out for gin. Adds an orange peel garnish to signify this, new creation, and voila, the Negroni is born.
Wow. A count. A bold request, a legendary drink. It's like, it's almost too perfect, right? No wonder it's stuck around.
It does have a certain ring to it, doesn't it? However,
Oh.
like with many historical tales, there are always alternative theories floating around.
Of course, there's got to be some mystery.
Some sources suggest that similar recipes existed even earlier, like in Paris.
Oh la la.
There's even mention of something called a Campari, which uses the same ingredients.
So the Negroni name, it's not as clear-cut as we might think.
Exactly, it gets a little murky.
It's really amazing how these stories, they evolve over time, makes you wonder if that little air of mystery is all part of the Negroni's allure.
Right, it adds to the intrigue.
Okay, but whether it was born in Florence or Paris, one thing's clear.
Yeah.
This drink elicits some strong opinions. You mentioned debates earlier.
Oh, yes.
What are those all about?
Oh, you were absolutely right. And I think the Negroni's simplicity, it can be deceiving.
Okay.
It's like a blank canvas for cocktail enthusiasts
Yeah.
to project all of their preferences onto.
And they have a lot of preferences, it sounds like.
Oh, wait, they have a lot of opinions, believe me.
So this mysterious history has led to a drink with very specific ingredients, and people have strong opinions about them. Okay, I am ready. Let's break down the anatomy of a Negroni, shall we? Like, where do these passionate opinions tend to bubble up the most?
And while there are endless options out there, some purists, and I'm actually quoting one of your commenters here,
Oh, really?
they insist on a classic London dry gin,
Okay.
something like a Bombay Sapphire,
Solid chart.
to really allow that Campari flavor to shine through.
That makes sense. You don't want to overshadow the star of the show with too much going on in the gin.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but what about the vermouth? Is that another point of contention?
Oh, absolutely. The vermouth is definitely not an afterthought. It can make or break a Negroni.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Some connoisseurs swear by Carpano Antica
Okay.
or Kochi for their rich, complex flavor profiles. They find them superior to, say, a Martini and Rossi.
Interesting.
And there's even a comment here raving about uncouth vermouth,
Uncouth vermouth. I like it.
with an emphasis on natural botanicals.
So it sounds like people get really into it with like the specifics of each ingredient.
They really do. They have very strong opinions.
So we've covered the gin, the vermouth. What about the technique? Shaking or stirring?
Oh, boy.
Now that's a debate I feel like I've witnessed firsthand.
Oh, I believe it.
So tell me, what are the arguments on each side? Why all the fuss over a good shake or a stir?
Well, those in favor of shaking, they argue that it creates a colder, more diluted cocktail with a bit of froth on top.
Okay.
They say it helps to kind of meld those flavors together.
Interesting.
However, the stirring camp argues that shaking introduces too much air into the mix, which can over-dilute it and make it cloudy.
Okay.
They believe that stirring maintains the spirit's clarity, and it creates a silkier, more velvety texture, which is essential for a proper Negroni.
Huh. It's so fascinating how such a seemingly straightforward recipe, can spark such passionate discussion.
I know, right?
It seems like there's no one right way to make a Negroni.
Right.
Just like there's no one definitive story of its origin. I love that.
And that's part of what makes it so ripe for exploration. Speaking of exploration.
You mean the Negroni riffs? Okay, I'm all ears. Let's dive into the world of Negroni variation.
Oh, there are plenty to explore, each with its own unique twist on that classic.
Hit me with it.
For example, have you ever heard of a Negroni Sbagliato?
The Negroni Sbagliato, it sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Just the name itself.
It's a good one. Sbagliato actually translates to mistaken or like wrong in Italian.
Okay.
Which makes its origin story all the more interesting.
I'm hooked, all right.
So legend has it that a bartender in Milan accidentally grabbed a bottle of Prosecco.
Instead of gin?
Whoops. While making a Negroni.
Oh, okay.
But instead of starting over, they just decided to embrace the mistake.
I like that.
And the result, this lighter, more effervescent take on the classic Negroni.
It's like those happy accidents in the kitchen, right? Like sometimes the best things come from those little detours.
Exactly.
So instead of gin, we have Prosecco, adding that bubbly twist.
Yeah, it's a really nice variation.
That sounds perfect for like someone who, finds the original Negroni a tad too strong.
It's a great intro to the Negroni.
Yes.
If you will.
A gateway Negroni.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, so we have the Negroni Sbagliato. Oh, what else is out there?
Well, there's the Boulevardier, which takes the Negroni in a slightly moodier, more spirit-forward direction.
How so?
So this one swaps the gin out for bourbon.
Oh, interesting.
A little cozier, a little warmer.
Oh, I like it.
Perfect for those colder evenings when you want something with a little bit more weight to it.
I'm picturing a fireplace right now.
Exactly.
Sipping on a Boulevardier.
That's the one.
This is so cool. I love how versatile the Negroni is. It's like we're taking the same core identity, but we're exploring it in all these different dimensions.
Totally.
Okay, what other intriguing riffs have we got?
Well, if you're looking for something a bit more delicate and floral,
okay,
might I suggest the white Negroni?
The white Negroni.
This one replaces both the gin and Campari.
Wow. Okay.
With Lillet Blanc, it's a French aperitif wine, and Enthusiast.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. Lillet Blanc and Suze, those are new to me.
They're very cool.
Okay, what kind of flavor profile are we talking here? Do they play well together?
They do. Lillet Blanc brings this lovely kind of floral sweetness to the mix.
Okay.
And the Suze adds just this a hint of bitterness and a little bit of herbal complexity.
Interesting.
So you get a Negroni that's definitely less bracing than the original,
okay,
but equally as nuanced and refreshing.
I like it.
It's really nice for those who prefer a less bitter, more aromatic drinking experience.
It really does sound delightful. I'm not going to lie, you've convinced me the Negroni is so much more than just one drink.
It really is.
It's like this whole category of flavor experiences. We've barely even scratched the surface here.
There's so much to explore.
It's really amazing how this simple 3-ingredient cocktail has become such a versatile canvas for experimentation.
I know, it speaks to the brilliance of that original formula,
Right.
It's this perfectly balanced equation. You can change up the variables, but the core structure stays sound.
Yeah.
And that is what makes it so endlessly fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe even having a few debates along the way, right?
Of course.
So for our listener out there who clearly appreciates a good deep dive, we've journeyed from this classic Negroni recipe to uncovering this world of history
and debate,
and seemingly endless variations.
That's true.
But I have a feeling our exploration isn't quite over yet, wouldn't you say? I'm thinking about all those variations we talked about, the Negroni Sbagliato, the Boulevardier, the white Negroni.
It's really cool, right? How many different directions you can go?
It really is, and it's got me wondering, what about you?
What about me?
Yeah, if you were to create your own Negroni riff, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
What would your signature be?
My signature Negroni after all this.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be, a reflection of everything we've talked about.
Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
Okay, so I think we'd have to start with the base of that classic London dry gin. you know.
Okay, paying homage to the roots.
Exactly. Got to have that solid foundation.
Solidarity, I like it.
But then I think we introduce a touch of the unexpected.
Ooh, okay, how so?
Maybe a vermouth that's infused with some locally sourced botanicals.
Okay.
Something to kind of represent the drink's adaptability,
Yeah.
you know, and how it can be tailored to different regions and palates.
I like that a lot because it's not only delicious, but then it's got this whole other layer of storytelling to it, right?
Totally.
Okay, so we've got the gin, we've got the vermouth. What about that garnish?
The garnish. Okay, instead of the traditional orange peel, I'd go with something a little unexpected.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
The delicate little twist of grapefruit.
Ooh, grapefruit, interesting.
It adds that bright citrus note, but it's a little bit more tart, a little more complex.
Okay, and does it work? Does it play well with the other flavors?
I think so.
Yeah.
It really complements the gin and the vermouth, but it still kind of holds its own.
Okay, so you've got like the beauty, and then also it kind of sparks conversation, right? Because it's like, what is that? I love it. I think you really captured the essence of the Negroni with this like deep dive variation.
Thank you.
Because it's not even just about those individual ingredients anymore. It's about, you know, the story they tell together, the conversation that they spark.
And the fact that they come together to create something completely new.
Yes, this is what it's all about. And I think that's a really beautiful point to end on, you know? It's like you said at the beginning, even something as, you know, seemingly simple as a cocktail, it can really be this window into history and culture and personal preference and creativity.
Sure.
And the Negroni is like proof that sometimes those most rewarding experiences come from exploring those unexpected twists and turns.
100%.
So, listener out there, we want to hear from you. What would your ideal Negroni be? What stories would your drink tell?
Yeah, let us know.
Share your creations with us. You might just inspire our next deep dive. Until then, cheers to the Negroni, a drink that is so much more than meets the eye.
Cheers to that.
Learn how to make a Negroni for free at drinklab.org.